Nice
On the
job.
first try.
On the first
I
try.
have learned so much about this camera. I've had a whole month.
Mhm.
It's been a month since the last time I made a video.
That's true.
And so I learned it, and I have a different kind of camera. It's all newfangled.
It's very fancy.
It is fancy, and
Mhm.
so, but I'm wearing exactly the same dress because this is my Sunday dress. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Thank
You're still here.
you. I am still here.
Yes,
Still
you did
home from
not go
college.
back to school.
I didn't go back to school. I'm still doing school.
How
At
do you
home.
do school if you
I
go to college
know.
so far away? How do you do
I
it here?
know. Well, everybody talks to each other using the computer, and everybody takes classes using the computer. And so, while when I was at school, sometimes I would have some homework that I would have to complete on my computer. Now, all my homework looks like that. And
Oh.
so, I still do pretty much the same work, but it's a little bit harder sometimes when you have to do work in a different place and in a different way. But
Are you still learning?
I am still learning.
Good.
I am still learning.
Good, me too.
Mhm.
I learned about the camera and the computer and how to do better. It took me a month, but I did it
Mhm.
because I wanted to do it for the children,
Mhm.
and also I wanted it to be easier than last time.
Yes.
And I feel like I looked a little bit foolish, but now I just clicked a button, a
Mhm.
giant red button, that helped.
And now it's all ready.
I'm good at it now.
You're very good at it. You can film videos whenever you want now.
Yes, once a month.
Once a month. Yep, that seems to be enough.
Once a month. You know, last time I spoke to the children in a recording, we didn't do what we normally do.
That's true.
Usually at church, we do the chapter concepts.
Mhm.
We call them chapter concepts. Do you know what chapter concepts are?
I remember chapter concepts. I actually did them when I was little.
You did!
Yeah. Yeah.
You already learned them.
I already learned a couple of them, and it was very helpful just to know where I could find all the stories that I could remember. And so whenever I wanted to go through the stories by myself, I would be able to find them in the Bible.
You maybe don't have to have so many bookmarks. You can just know where things are.
Yeah, even though it's kind of hard sometimes to memorize all of it,
Sure.
it's still good to know where to find it instead of flipping through the Bible for a couple hours because it's a pretty long book.
That is very true.
That would take a while.
That is very true. Some people have tried.
Mm.
You know, Pastor Mark, he will say, "Oh, that reminds me of it." He will just say a verse and he knows it.
Mm-hmm.
He has memorized a lot.
He's memorized a lot of it, and I bet it saves him a lot of time too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Hard work pays off later.
So, what chapter concepts do we have today?
Oh, this is exciting. This is exciting. Boys and girls, the last 5 chapter concepts of the Old Testament. We're going to be done. We have the last 5 chapter concepts, not of all of them, but of the Old Testament. So we've been doing them. The first time I did them was about a year ago. The first time I visited, I was at church though.
Right.
Not at home. And I taught them the first 5. I bet you know them.
I think I do know them.
Yeah, do you know where you can find creation?
I can find creation in Genesis 1.
Do you know where you can find the fall? I'm giving you a hint here.
Genesis 3.
That's right. You can't see that I was holding up 3. Do you know where to find the flood?
The flood is in another one.
It is.
It's 7, isn't it?
It is 7, yes. And then the easiest one, Genesis, where you can find the Tower of Babel.
I remember that one. That one's 11.
Why do you remember it?
Because if you put up your hands like that, like a tower, it kind of looks like the number 1.
Your mom, Mary Lynch, must have told me, because I told the children that too. And then the next one, Genesis 12, is the covenant of Abraham, of course.
The covenant of Abraham.
You knew. I know that you knew. And then 40 more, and then these 5.
Perfect.
And then we'll be done with the Old Testament. The Old Testament, that's God's story before Jesus. And then when Jesus comes, all of those stories are the New Testament. So we have 5 today. And I don't have a whiteboard. Usually the whiteboard is there and I can point to it. I don't have to remember it. I only have this piece of paper and the children can't see it. So this is what I'm going to ask your mom to do. I'm going to ask your mom to put it in the email that has the link of this video, and then the kids will know. But also, your mom sends an email to all of the families every Tuesday that has the last 5. But I'm going to ask her to do all of them. All 50.
That's going to be a lot.
All 50. If I needed to learn 50 chapter concepts, I could have done one every 2 years.
Wow.
I know, but we did it all 50 in a year. We'll just keep remembering until you're 100, boys and girls, like me.
And have them all memorized.
And I have them all memorized. You can take my word for it. So I'm going to read to you, and so this is what I want you to do. I don't want you to read the whole chapter, because we will run out of tape. No, digital.
I guess we can. It would just be a little bit too long.
It would take too long. So I'm going to tell you what to look up, and you look it up. I did put some bookmarks.
Oh. All right then.
Okay, so the next one is. I'm going to show you the pattern.
Okay.
We do this. Stomp, stomp, clap. Stomp, stomp, clap, clap. Are you ready?
I like it.
I'm just going to do one at a time. It's like I'm hip hopping.
Yes.
Yes, hip hopping. Is that a thing? Okay.
Like
I'm a new, fresh hip hop dancing. I'm hip hopping. Here we go. It's Isaiah 9, the Prince of Peace.
I like it.
But we say it like this. Isaiah 9, the Prince of Peace. Yes, that was very good. You got it just like that.
That was very hip.
I'm so hip.
All right, and here is our verse from Isaiah 9. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Are you ready?
Wait, you know that! You know that, boys and
Hey.
girls. Pastor Mark used that verse once for us to memorize.
Really?
The kids did it up in front of the church.
I'm
on the
not
steps.
surprised. Those are some brave kids.
They're very, very brave.
Yes.
And the congregation is always amazed. And sometimes even a little tear comes to their eye. Amazed. Okay, ready? Yeah. I'm going to say it, but then I'm also going to do the chant.
Okay. Do you want me to do the chant with you?
Of course I do.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, then.
It's Isaiah 53, the suffering servant. Isaiah 53. I did wrong. We're going to start over. Yes,
do you want to go again?
I make mistakes all the time. You don't stop
Me
making
too.
mistakes when you get
Sorry.
older.
I didn't remember the first 3 chapter concepts, so
That's
I feel
okay.
like
I was
it's
giving you a
a
signal.
little fair.
Okay, ready?
All right, then.
Oh, we're going to say Isaiah 53, not Isaiah 53. Okay, here we go. Are you ready?
All right, ready?
Oh, and it's the suffering servant. Here we go.
Servant. Okay.
Isaiah 53, the suffering servant. That was good.
That was really good.
I
We
am
were
the hip
perfectly together.
hoppiest.
That was great timing. All right, ready?
Read from Isaiah 53.
Here's our next verse. But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace. And with his wounds we are healed.
Oh, yes, and with his wounds we are healed.
That's an important part.
That is really important. Sorry for interrupting. You know what? I know that part too. I've read that before.
Really?
Yes.
Me too. I remember when I was little, I learned this to a song. And now it's very hard for me to start reading it and not start singing it in my head.
I know you didn't learn the song with the word chastisement, but could you sing it for us?
Didn't.
You could sing it with
Oh,
your
no.
words. You don't have to.
I can sing it for you.
We just
That's
talked
okay.
about those brave children. Do you want to be brave?
Oh goodness. Sure. I'll be
Thank
brave.
you.
Hopefully, I remember all of it.
Well, the book is right there.
But the words are a little bit different. So
That's okay.
We
That's
can
okay.
cheat a little bit. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him,
And
by his wounds we are healed. Isaiah 53, verse 5. That's the most fun part at the very end when you get to kind of jam out a little bit.
Excellent.
That's a lot of fun. Okay.
What about
next one?
Jeremiah 31, the new covenant? Let's do the chant.
Covenant. Ooh, there's that word again. Haven't we heard that word before?
Well, it's in our church name.
Oh, that's
thinking of the Testament?
Yeah, I was thinking of the earlier in the Old Testament.
Okay,
so.
ready?
Anyway.
So let's just remind me.
Okay.
Jeremiah 31, the new covenant. Are you ready?
All
Here
right,
we
ready.
go. Jeremiah 31, the new covenant. Excellent.
That was a good one.
Yes, it's like we're old hats.
A different rhythm.
We are very, very good at this.
Very good at this. All right, ready?
Wait, go ahead. I'm ready.
I will put my law within them, and I will write it on their hearts. It's a bit of a short piece, but it's a good one.
I think we have to stop the tape.
Okay. Oh, well.
Yes, no, because I think you've been reading from the New Testament. Well, first, remember you did the Prince of Peace. Clearly that's Jesus. But remember I said the Old Testament is before Jesus and the New Testament is once Jesus had come. And the Prince of Peace and the suffering servant and the new covenant. Jesus is the new covenant. And so I think we've got that all wrong.
Well, you're right that it sounds like it's from the New Testament.
Because it's about Jesus.
Well, the thing is, though, a lot of these are actually called prophecies when we're reading from these parts of the Bible. You know, even in the New Testament, Paul talks about how God gives us each our different gifts. And so some people have the gift of prophecy, and they're able to say and see, God reveals to them what's going to happen in the future. So in the New Testament, we find out that in the Old Testament, they were able to see what would happen in the New Testament.
So what I told the children is wrong, and Jesus is in the Old Testament and the New Testament?
Yes!
Oh my goodness! Sorry, boys and girls. We're not going to start over. It's been 12 minutes. So you'll just have to remember the story of Jesus actually being on earth is how the Gospels are in the New Testament. But he's also in the Old Testament. Even in the very beginning. In the beginning, God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit create the world.
Yeah, do you remember that? Even that verse in the New Testament, John 1. What was it? Here
John 1:1.
John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and
Jesus.
the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Jesus.
He was in the beginning with God. It talks about Jesus being the Word and about.
So he's in the Old Testament, and then he's in the Gospels in the New Testament.
Jesus is everywhere. All right.
The next one. Joel 2, the day of the Lord.
That's a good one. All right, ready?
I don't know what was funny about that, but it was funny.
It's just a bit of a silly face that you make, Granny Lynch.
It's my face. God gave me a silly face. Not much I can do about it.
All right, ready? So it's Joel 2, the day
Joel
of the
2,
Lord.
the day of the Lord. Are you ready?
Okay.
Joel 2, the day of the Lord.
That was a good one.
Yes.
All right.
Watch out, P. Diddy. We are hip-hopping toward you. What does Joel 2 say?
Joel 2 says, blow a trumpet in Zion. Sound an alarm on my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming. It is near. Wow.
The day of the Lord.
Yeah.
Do you know what that means?
The day of the Lord. Do you know what it means?
I do know what it means.
Good.
I do. Jesus is going to come back. Not like Easter. Remember in Easter he died and was in the tomb, but then he came back and he went up to heaven. He's going to come back again. And we call that the day of the Lord. Is that the New Testament? Still the Old Testament.
Still the Old
They
Testament.
knew about that even then.
Yeah.
Because God revealed it to the prophets.
Exactly.
I'm learning even now at 100. Oh, look at this. Malachi 4. The prophet of the Lord.
Hey, there's that word again.
Yes. Malachi 4, this is the very last one, which is appropriate because Malachi is the last book of the Old Testament. Malachi 4, the prophet of the Lord. Let's do the chant and then we'll read the verse from Malachi 4. Ready? Here we go. Malachi 4, the prophet of the Lord.
I think we mastered it.
Yo!
Oh no.
Okay, go ahead.
Good job, Granny.
Thank you. So on the day of the Lord is when Jesus comes back. Read the verse of the day of the Lord.
Remember the law of my servant Moses, the statutes and rules that I commanded him at Horeb for all Israel.
That's true. So sometimes when somebody important is coming over, like you, I get ready. I want to prepare for the coming of Madison. Sometimes I bake treats for you, and I tidy up. Did you prepare for me to come here to your house?
I did.
Yes. We prepared for a special guest. There is no more special guest than Jesus. You know, sometimes I think, you know what I should do? Make everything look good. Right?
Sometimes I'll curl my hair.
I curl my hair.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
and I want to make everything look good for that special guest, but that verse tells us what we are to do to prepare for Jesus. Will you read it again? That's Malachi 4:4.
Remember the law of my servant Moses, the statutes and rules that I commanded him at Horeb for all Israel.
Not just remember the rules, but follow the rules. Obey. That is how we can prepare for the coming of the Lord, for Jesus' return.
That's true.
That's true.
And I really like that that's our last verse for the Old Testament, to remember the law of my servant Moses. That we get to remember when we're finishing up the Old Testament and going into the New Testament, that this is something to keep in mind. That we don't get to just forget all this because Jesus is only in the New Testament and he doesn't show up anywhere else. Now we know that he is all the way through all of it.
And do you know that when Jesus was here, and it's all written down, he constantly was talking about things from the Old Testament, word for word. He remembered. It was probably easier for him.
Probably a little bit.
Guess what?
What?
I made a craft for the children to do.
Really?
It's an old-fashioned toy, a kind that I played with when I was a little tiny girl.
It sounds like fun.
Back in the old days in Miami, Florida. So you stay right here.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go get, and you can actually see it. Can you see it right? Oh, which way? There it is.
That's true.
See
He's
that
sitting
little
right
thing?
up there.
But look at this. This is very fun. I'll show you how I made it in just a second, but watch what I can do with it. It's a toy. An old-fashioned toy. Ooh, there he goes up.
That's awesome.
I didn't know he was coming down. Oh, quickly, he doesn't get hurt though. He's Jesus. Look at this fun toy.
That's really cool, Granny.
Want to see how I made it?
Oh.
Of course you do. Yes.
Oh, I would love to.
I got a piece of paper and I cut out a shape. I used this shape. You could use whatever shape you want.
Granny Lynch,
Yes.
I'm a little bit worried that some of the kids are really young and they might need help with this.
I have to tell you, really young children shouldn't use scissors. Okay.
Sounds good.
Then maybe their parents can do the cutting out. The child can draw it on a piece of paper, and then the parents can cut it out. But then look at this on the back. I cut a straw into two pieces, and I used cello tape, scotch tape, wrapping, packing, gift wrap tape. That's the old-fashioned word. And I taped them to the back, and then I got some of this floss. I got it from your mom.
Oh.
Yep, she had it from when she sent the children sewing projects.
She has the best craft stuff.
She does have a lot of good craft stuff. She's amazing, that mother of yours.
Yes, she is.
And so you hold this.
Okay.
I put a knot in the top, and I put the strings through both. And then when I pull the strings apart, it goes up. And I put them together, and it goes down again.
It's really clever, Granny Lynch.
And then Jesus, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And then Christmas, he came down. He was shaped like a baby. He was just a baby, and he was here the whole time. And then he died.
Well, he went off on the cross, didn't he?
Oh, good point. And then he died, and then he went in the tomb, and then he ascended into heaven. And guess what? He's going to come back again on the day of the Lord. You know when that is? Nope.
Nope.
Nobody knows.
No one knows.
Some people sometimes think that they do. And I always say, if you think that he's coming on a certain day, then he definitely is not. Because the Bible says you will not know. Nobody will know. So if you think you know, that's not it. So boys and girls, I challenge you to make a toy. You know, you could do Jesus, but I bet you could do a rocket shape.
That's true.
You could do anything that goes up and down. Cut out that shape, 2 straws, some string, and pull them apart, and it goes up. Put them together, and it goes down. I also challenge you, boys and girls, ask your mom to print the email with the 50 chapter concepts and see how many you can remember. And the ones we learned today.
That sounds like a lot, Granny Lynch.
It's a lot.
Hard workers. All right, then. Is that the end of our lesson?
I think so. I'm going to spend a whole month getting ready for the next one.
That sounds good.
Maybe we'll do the New Testament chapter concepts. In
that's
fact,
exciting.
we will. Thank you, Madison.
You're welcome. Thank you, Granny Lynch.
You're welcome. Thank you, boys and girls, and we will see you at the end of May.
Sounds good.
But your mom's going to do other stuff in the meantime.
Okay, that sounds good. That's a good idea.
Bye, boys and girls.
Bye.